Hi, hi, hi. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Hello, NY. Kaleidoscope of Crime, how are you? Hello. Ramblin', hello. Ramblin', you actually brought my attention to part of this, which kind of linked to a part I already had, and I'm like, oh, wow. So, thank you. Hi, Chris. How are you? How are you doing? Shayna, how are you? How's it going? I hope you guys are all having a good day. Hi, Annabelle. It'd be Shanna, right? Would it be Shanna? Or would it be Shayna? I don't want to be silly about your name. Sorry. Oh, thanks for the heart. Will we watch later? Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I hope that you're all having a really good day. I wanted to bring this case to you, talk about it. I have been having my eye on the case to begin with for Ella Mae Begay. She has been missing for over a year now. And so I continue to see her flyer pop up, and it has just caught my attention more and more. And then come to find out that basically June 15th of last year is when she went missing because it happened overnight. So that's why it will say on there June 14th to June 15th because it happened overnight. But June 15th having to be the same as Summer Wells, I thought was interesting for me. Sorry, I'm fidgeting with something. Sorry if you could hear that. But, and then through her, there is her niece that's actually doing something extremely incredible. And it's not the first time that she's done it. And so let's get into it. I'll put you on the first video and we'll show you. So this one is a previous walk that she did. She had done one before this. And then she did this one that I'm about to show you. That's a 90-mile walk. And then there's one I'm going to show you that is current, that she is currently doing as we speak. And so this one is not the current one.
Walking for those gone too soon. It's a passion Seraphine Warren has had for months.
I'm going through a lot of pain.
In June 2021, her 62-year-old aunt, Mae Begay, went missing from her home in Sweetwater, Arizona. The area is located within the Navajo Nation. Since then, Warren says updates from police have been few and far between.
I was frustrated just because there was no help after the 2 weeks the Navajo Police Department and everybody left. We had no directions. There was no update.
So Warren decided to take matters into her own hands, hoping that someone would hear her family's story and grievances. That meant embarking on a 90-mile journey to the Navajo capital, all on foot.
I'm trying to show President this is how slow you guys move in changes and just anything. And then also the hard work that I'm doing to try to make these things happen.
Warren's trip lasted 4 days, walking from her aunt's home in Arizona to Window Rock. She also faced harsh weather conditions, but she still pursued through tears and faith.
I had a little breakdown. Literally, I wanted to fall to my knees and I cried actually. I still stood up, but I cried. I was listening to headphones and I was listening to my music, and there's a song that she liked that came on, and that's what hit me.
This wasn't the first walk Warren has done. She made a similar journey last year. Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez even joined in on her walk from Shiprock in July, and again just several days ago on February 17th.
We've continuously provided updates, and we even provided Navajo Nation resources on these searches, deploying, like drones and even manpower, equipment to help.
While President Nez says these investigations are a high priority, he adds that point of contact often comes down to one person within the family. And in this case, it's Ella Mae's son, and not Warren.
I don't know if this needs to change, but they identify one person in the family who gets all the information, and that person, the family member, is responsible for sharing that information.
But he admits more needs to be done to provide justice for all families, and soon.
We just need people that are there that may know a little bit more about what happened to come out.
We need urgency to these type of situations, the seriousness of what we're going through.
Reporting in Window Rock, Brianna Albizu, KOAT, Action 7.
And so, yeah, so that was the one walk. Ultimately, what had happened is that it was overnight, one night on June 14th of 2021, and Ella Mae's daughter lives next door to her, and it was in the middle of the night. It's somebody kicked in her door, and I believe they said got a drink. It sat down in the living room, and she became scared to death, right? They ended up leaving her place and going next door into her mother's place. She was too afraid to go get the phone in order to contact 911. And she, shortly after they had left and gone into her mother's, she had seen her mother's truck drive out and pull away. And she, being afraid, didn't go call 911 right away. She ended up falling asleep for a couple of hours. And then when she woke up, she then went out and placed the call. And initially, she did not report what happened to her mother, to Ella Mae. She only reported the break-in at her place and not the break-in that followed that was at her mother's. And so there was a slight delay there. Hi, Cat Lover. How are you? Yes, exactly. They're so cool. I remember just being young and I wanted everything native, all of it, all the things. Like my mom used to buy me the jewelries, and I had feathers of everything, and dream catchers and necklaces, and any kind of jewelry that was native of any sort. I was into it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been a thing that stuck with me my entire life. And so whether I have native in me or not, I really have no idea, but I have it in my heart. And so these cases are really important to me. But hey, Nicole, how are you? Yeah, isn't that frightening to be in your home and have like somebody break in? But yeah, so I'm gonna play this next one, and this is current. This is currently now. This is the one that Ramblin' actually showed me, and I was like, wow. Once it connected to Ella, I was just like, oh my goodness, wait a second. And now I realized that she's been doing walks ever since, right? And she's proving a bigger point each time. Each walk that she does is for a bigger understanding, to get a bigger concept through to people to understand, right? Like the last walk she did, she said she was showing them that that's how slow the process moves. It's her walking. That's how slow the process is of getting any change, getting any help, getting law enforcement to do anything, anything to be moving. This is how slow it takes. The time that it takes me to walk 90 miles, right? So, and then this one going to Washington, D.C. is even larger.
A Navajo woman is walking through Tulsa on her way to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous people. She says her aunt has been missing for more than a year. News on 6's Amy Slanching joins us live with her story. Amy?
Lori, after starting her walk in Arizona last month, Seraphine Warren has been in Oklahoma for a couple of weeks now, making her way through the Panhandle and our state's extreme weather. Now she's just about halfway to her destination. With her quick pace and determination, Seraphine Warren knocked out 9 miles before noon.
I really don't complain about the heat, the rain. I feel like that's the way of Creator hugging me.
The Navajo woman is searching for answers about Mae Begay.
My aunt went missing last year, June 15th, and she's the main reason.
Mae was last seen in Sweetwater, Arizona last summer. The Navajo Nation and FBI are investigating the case. Seraphine says her aunt is a professional rug weaver with 2 daughters, a son, and 9 grandkids.
I'm still trying to understand what's taking so long.
On her cross-country journey, a driver trails close by, both a safety measure and a chance to spread the word. And while Seraphine is walking alone, there's a community of 16,000 people following her online.
It's hard for a lot of people to understand.
Followers share stories of missing or murdered Indigenous people like Oklahomans Christopher Teal and Aubrey Dameron. Seraphine dedicates each day's walk to different people, praying along the way.
There's no urgency to get answers faster.
Seraphine carries her prayer staff with her, full of ribbons with messages from families who are also searching for answers.
I want to find her the way I last seen her. And that's why I'm trying to stress a lot of our leaders that we need somebody to help us look for my aunt.
Seraphine says she's not in a rush or in any sort of schedule, but at a rate of about 20 to 30 miles a day, she does expect to get to D.C. by the first week of October. She's hoping to meet with Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland and any other leaders willing to meet with her. Live in Tulsa, Amy Slanchik, Oklahoma's Own, News on 6.
Yeah, if you catch her, that would be awesome. That would be incredible. That would be so incredible. When they did that, she was in Tulsa. And as for, the progress, she can make 9 miles is like easy peasy for her. Like she did 9 miles just in the morning. Like just in her from the start to then 9 miles would already been banged out. Like she moves right along, and it's not in any urgency. Like she's not like speed walking or anything. But it's just a constant walk. Oh wow, Ramblin', she was right by you. I'm away from you. That would be really incredible if you do end up catching her. I do know that she has been talking to reporters along the way as she's been going with this. She has been talking with people, and I think that that's incredible. I love it so much. So it's almost 2,400 miles. Just think about that. That is ridiculous to even think about driving it. Like, ew, forget about it. I don't wanna. That sounds like torture to me, especially having to be in a vehicle with somebody else probably that entire time. I might do better just doing it by myself. But, yeah, so almost 2,400 miles she's doing by foot. It's incredible. I will drive to her. She passes me and miss it. Yeah, if you can, that would be super incredible. I'm trying to find a way. If I am able to reach out to her, that would be cool. I don't know, right, with everything she's got going on, but I think that it's extremely incredible that she dedicates each day to a person that's currently missing, that the family's currently not knowing whether their family member is missing or murdered, what's going on with the case, what's happening. And so every single day she dedicates the walk to a different person. I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit. We're going to look at Instagram, and I'm going to show you some of it. I got emotional about the last video. I got emotional off of her Instagram. I'm just emotional about it today. I'm just like, but tomorrow's mission. Especially if I can talk with her, I could tell her the awareness you're bringing. Oh, thanks. That would be awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I actually reached out and talked to well, I don't remember. I'll have to take a look. New Mexico Indian Affairs Department. And so we'll see what I hear back on that about more information. So we'll see. We will see. But let me play this one for you.
Family and friends of Mae Begay, the nightmare continues.
All they tell me is we're still investigating. We're trying to do everything we can to solve the case.
The 62-year-old Navajo woman went missing June 15th, 2021 from her home in Sweetwater, Arizona. Yet despite the time passed, there's still no answers. Her family says it's an issue only fueled by limited resources and a lack of communication between local and federal agencies.
I'm really bothered with just how the process is and how slow it's going. I don't still see that sense of urgency. I feel like I'm still running around frantically trying to look for my aunt.
Begay's disappearance especially hard for relatives like Seraphine Warren. Since her aunt went missing, Warren has been a key advocate for her family and others with similar situations, often walking to local government offices demanding change. But this time around, she's thinking bigger and farther.
During one of my prayers, that's what I spoke of, is I'm going to do this walk to DC because I'm not the only one that's dealing with this.
Over the next few weeks, Warren will be making her way to the nation's capital, all by foot from her aunt's home in Arizona. Preparations for the trip just days before already making Warren emotional.
Why am I going around in each room looking for what to take when my aunt didn't get that chance? When I was leaving, I hugged my kids. I was telling them where I'm going to be at. My aunt didn't get that chance.
Nonetheless, Warren powers through her own journey in hopes of being a voice for other grieving Indigenous families.
And I feel like this walk is going to grab a lot of people's attention in any way they could relate. It's going to happen. The pain that I'm going to probably endure with my soreness and my thoughts, I know somebody's going to relate.
Brianna Albizu, KOAT Action 7 News.
Thank you, Cat Lover. That part really gets you too when you realize that, and that's actually what we're going to be reading right now. We love that. We love reading. It's so fun, right? Especially when I'm the one doing it. So let's get over here. Talking about how she was packing things to take with her and then realized, why do I have the right to pack things to take with me when my aunt didn't have the opportunity to take anything with her? And then when she was kissing her children goodbye and telling them where she was going to be, she felt like she shouldn't have the right to do that because her aunt didn't get the opportunity to do that. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Indigenous woman walks across the country in search of MMIW data and answers. And there's an image, incredible. You got to think how hot it is right now. If she's Tulsa area, the news was on that when we were on that article, that page, up at the top, it said it was 99 degrees. And that's not even counting the heat index of what she's walking in right now. So Jonathan Sims is a media producer, former appointed official at the Pueblo of Acoma. He covers news and writes columns of Indigenous peoples' issues for the paper. Published July 26th and updated July 26th. So by the time you read this, Seraphine Warren will be miles beyond the town of Balco, Oklahoma, alongside a small 2-lane road on a truck for answers. Seraphine is walking to Washington, D.C. for her missing aunt, Mae Begay, and for all MMIW relatives. She walked through Albuquerque on a rainy day a few weeks ago, which rain in itself is a good sign, a blessing, as she left the borders of our cultural landscape as people of the Southwest and began walking the long, lonely roads of the Midwest. Seraphine pulls no punches. She is a tell-you-like-it-is individual. An iron worker by trade, she is tough as nails. We all got an auntie like her. She began to talk to me. Quote, that's the reason why I was kind of hesitant doing interviews, is that they don't really put in the real issue. Yep. They just highlight oh, she's walking across like it's a good thing, when it's like some real bad things behind it. I could understand the sentiment. I'm sure I was just one of several news and media outlets, organizations, and community members all wanting a moment of her time. At times, we forget that these people are literally using their bodies and lives to get a message across. She has a family, a job, bills to pay, and a life of her own, but she has put all of that on hold and enlisted her ultra runner trained brother as her medic and assistant along the way. The sacrifice is extreme. Weather, physical pain, and the strength of mind needed to carry on. Seraphine put it into perfect context. Why am I so emotional about it? It's incredible. My goodness. Quote, I also started learning about myself. How, like everything, once I wake up, it's my aunt. Once I wake up, it's just things like, when it comes to me wanting to eat, I feel like I'm selfish because my aunt hasn't ate. Just everything, even just planning this walk. When I was leaving from my house, I was looking around, looking for things I needed to take to survive, to get to DC. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, you don't need those things. And I just instantly thought, my aunt didn't get this chance. She didn't even take what she needed. She was just forced to go, and she didn't come back. So a lot of that, it's just clicking my head, like, how hard is it just to up and leave, and what she might have been thinking at the time. Just those kind of things. She probably had like plans for the next day, right? Yeah, she probably didn't think that this was going to happen to her at all. Seraphine's walk is not just a call to action. It's also a very personal journey of grief and healing and looking for answers. When asked what she would say to anyone that she will meet in DC, she said that she doesn't know quite yet, though she has a lot to say. Our discussion brought up many concerns, including police agencies and their ability to do good police work. She had questions about resources. For instance, in the case of her own aunt, the family was not able to find qualified people and resources to do an extensive manhunt. She shared with me that in the time right after her aunt went missing, those crucial hours, she found herself asking why she couldn't get search and rescue assistance from law enforcement. The Navajo Nation volunteer search and rescue assisted at first, but after 2 weeks, the family was left to search alone. Her journey brings to light some glaring concerns about resources, exploring how data is used and reported in terms of MMIW cases locally and nationally brings up some interesting issues. These issues include misprofiling, staffing issues within law enforcement, lack of training, and of course, financial resources. MMIW is an issue that is heavy on the photo ops and promises for many leaders, tribal and non-tribal. For those in the trenches every day, politics can get frustrating. Nez walks 2 miles and the press covers it like he did something when we are still waiting for what he has promised. As Seraphine mentions in regards to Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez, I don't know if it's Nez or Nez, Nez probably. She said that she has met with him, but feels that he hasn't stepped up enough to make a serious change on MMIW issues. There's another incredible picture. Day 15th. I don't know, but and that's New Mexico. So, how do resources become reality? Public concerns helps immensely, but data is what makes money move at the state and federal levels. Many times it is that federal dollar that tribes use for law enforcement, no matter if it's Bureau of Indian Affairs, police, or communities with their own law enforcement. The downside is that data turns people into numbers, and it is hard to get people to care about numbers, even as the figures pile up. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Hey, Johnny, how are you? Regina Chacon is the bureau chief at the New Mexico Department of Public Safety, the DPS, and one of the leads on the data team, part of the MMIW task force brought together by the Mexico's Indian Affairs Department. This task force created the state's response plan in regard to MMIW. She told me why the data is important. Quote, I think understanding data and understanding how it is used is important. It helps to determine policies and strategies to locate missing persons and what resources and where resources need to be put. Without it, you don't really know what you're working with and what you're dealing with. But data comes with flaws sometimes. Sometimes not enough information is provided or it is not entered correctly. Quote, is there missing data? Do I need to refine the data by adding more information for future data references? So I think that's why data is always important when you're working with the criminal justice systems. Chacon, if that's how you say it, explained how missing person data is supposed to be shared. Quote, the first source of data sharing is the National Crime Information Center, the NCIC. It's the main database that law enforcement enters all missing persons into. And then we have a direct connection to NCIC. And so we're able to see real time whenever every missing person is entered, and that those two systems between the National Crime Information Center, NCIC, and the missing persons clearinghouse data, both of those systems are able to be shared with all law enforcement, all criminal justice. And so I think educating all law enforcement agencies, all criminal justice agencies who need to access that data is important. I don't think some know that they exist. The last part of her comment implies some unfortunate truths that lie in the reporting of data. The MMIW task force own research alludes to some of these difficulties. The following is straight out of their research and presented in the state response plan. Quote, in an effort to understand the current total number of MMIWR cases, along with other statistical data across New Mexico, the MMWR task force made public information requests to law enforcement agencies across the state that had a significant American Indian or Alaskan Native population, which would be AI or AN. The data requested on all cases included solved and unsolved missing persons, homicides, suspicious deaths, and deaths in custody involving an AI or AN and white or non-Hispanic woman or girl victims within that agency's jurisdiction between 2014 and 2019. Quote, these requests were submitted between March and April of 2020. Unfortunately, the response from more than half of the agencies indicated that the scope of the request was too burdensome and broad, so they did not fill the request. Too burdensome? Basically, numerous agencies just said it was too hard to make this happen. As she explained, it can be as simple as staffing issue. That's always a possibility with all law enforcement agencies, that some of their missing persons aren't entered, you know. I don't think it's specific to the tribes per se, that they're the ones that maybe are not sharing. Law enforcement, they get busy in regards to the staff, and they're not able to enter those missing persons into NCIC. It seems all it takes is a little pressure to move mountains. In 2019, New Mexico issued official report in response to the HB 16 presented by former Representative Joseph Sanchez. His bill would require all New Mexico entries that were currently in New Mexico Missing Person Clearinghouse to be transferred over to NamUs, which is a national database of missing persons and cold cases. NamUs also allows for forensic evidence to be submitted, even by registered family members, as well as providing investigators who might be able to assist families with advice. The response from the state's official report stated, quote, "It would be difficult for DPS to ascertain which entries would need to be entered into NamUs that meet their criteria and with the investigative details of the case." But a mere 10 months later, in December of 2019, it was announced that all data had been transferred, and from that point forward, weekly additions to the NamUs database would be made so that it is up to date. You can understand why this is unsettling. How many times have people been told something is not possible, when in fact, all it takes is a little determination and adequate resources? How's everyone doing? You guys doing all right? Hello, the whole entire picture. How are you today? As Seraphine mentioned, I get invited to do Zoom interviews and stuff, and you would think MMIW organizations and others knew by now what we need as far as what families are dealing with. They pretty much just asked me what the barriers are and all of that stuff. And it's just so frustrating. I have to tell them what I need. And I'm pretty sure they have funding for the type of things that I'm asking for. But yep, it's too much because they're trying to help a lot of other families too. A point made clear the day that we spoke, just hours before we talked, the national nightly news shared press conference clips from an update on a 2-week-old missing person case in Utah. Oh, we covered this case. Casey Blackslaga. I don't know where I got the N. But we covered him. A 29-year-old white male went missing on June 6, 2022, basically vanishing into thin air. The search had intensified after finding the vehicle abandoned, but the major difference here is that this person gets a multi-agency search, $50,000 in reward money offered, and 2-week follow-up press conference asked for public assistance because leads had run dry. You never see this type of resource devoted to an MMIW case, even one for an elderly, like Seraphine's aunt, Ella Mae. I have to cough, you guys. Hang on a second. I'm going to mute so that I'm not coughing in your ear. Okay, sorry about that. Why do people like Ella Mae get lost in the system? One reason is resources. Seraphine's family asked for drones, helicopters, ATVs, and even people with horses willing to look in the back country, none of which came to be in her case. But maybe raising these questions publicly makes things happen. Earlier this year, the fire rescue team from Shiprock was in the news as having received a drone to help in searches like the one that never happened for Ella Mae. Now, there is also an independent organization that has a team of search dogs working with local communities in the Four Corners area. But this is the exception and not the norm. And how do families begin to formally request these services? There is no standard procedure. True. Another reason our Native people get lost in the system is that at the federal level and even the state level, there is no way to add tribal affiliation in the data set. Considering New Mexico is home to 21 tribes, as well as numerous relatives from tribal communities from across the country, this information is important. As we know, each tribe is a sovereign entity and therefore has different law enforcement situations, leaderships, and resources. Being able to identify which community sorry, I had to laugh at myself on that one. Being able to identify which community you are working with is something that needs to be taken into account. It's so difficult, yeah. This is a recommendation that the MMIW task force is working closely on and hopes to make possible very soon. They refer to tribal identification in their official response plan. Quote, sometimes questions about race aren't asked directly and inaccurate judgment calls are made. This leads to the designation of racial groups. It impacts accountability and transparency and makes it challenging to identify where missing persons are going missing from. If that information is reported, the agency searching for the missing person can work alongside a tribe agency to gather intel and information about the last known location, who that person was with, and any known habits of this person. All this information is critical to finding that missing person and keeping tribal governments and families informed about what is taking place to find and bring their tribal members home. At a state level, these issues are being corrected, but it will take a bit more effort to change them at the federal FBI National Crime Information Center. Furthermore, the state's public safety department has made its mission to educate existing law enforcement and new state police cadets on MMIW cases and accurate reporting. Okay, good. Chacon hopes, I think I'm messing up her name. I'm sorry if I am. She hopes to make this education the new norm. There is a curriculum for the new cadets for the state police side and for the law enforcement agencies that goes through the academy. And there also is a curriculum for what's called recertification. And so we train law enforcement at the academy all the time. And what we really want to do is the outreach and education that the Department of Public Safety wants to do. We're willing to come and do training and do a talk, do whatever you need for your staff, for them to understand the missing persons clearinghouse, understand the missing person laws, and help in any way that we can and offer any resources that we can give. Yes, these cases are full of data that needs to be taken into account for resources to be embarked, but these cases are actual families, real people left trying to manage a tragedy. Maybe it's the information that needs to be shared so that we humanize these victims. We all have family that we would search the world for if lost. So what does it take to make change happen? Sometimes it's numbers, information, and legislative maneuvering. Sometimes it is one woman fed up with the system and walking to our nation's capital to make her voice and the voice of a movement heard. Oh, whew. None of this is lost on Seraphine. Quote, everybody knows what's going on. I just don't know why they don't say anything. When asked what she would say, if she could say one thing to people in high places, she had a message for them, especially our males and tribal leaders. She wants people to talk the talk, to walk her walk. Until then, Seraphine will log miles upon mile into the summer's heat so that these families and her Aunt Ella Mae are not forgotten, not just numbers. Sorry, y'all. I almost cried and got choky, and I'm sorry if you... That was a really good write-up and explanation of what's going on here. I'm gonna take you over to her. Oh, I felt my voice start changing because I got like the lump in your throat where you try to keep going. So this is Seraphine's Instagram, and she does every day a different person that she's walking for. And let me show you. So on this one, she wrote, "Good morning. I will be walking in memory of Herbert Whitehorse and to get justice if they hadn't already closed this case." And then the person had written to her and they wrote, "My brother was murdered 2016 in shipwreck. To this day, we have no closure. Please do walk for him. As his family, we have no call, nothing from the investigator. We feel so frustrated and hurt because we have no closure to his death. My brother Herbert went missing but was found at Saltwash Down Farm Road in the month of May of 2016. He had trauma to his head and body. To this day, we have no closure as to what happened to him, and the killer has not been found." Wow. That's terrible. How do you find someone with trauma to their head and their body and you don't investigate that? How do you close the case when there's still someone walking? And I don't mean like her walking, right? Here are some pictures. Some of them are hard to see, right? But that's who she's walking for. And that was a day ago. I was going to go live, but I'll save it for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be walking through Tulsa most of the day. My ending point will be at Homewood Suites. I will be taking a day off Wednesday and will continue Thursday morning. If you want to walk with me, I have my route at the bottom, and I might make time to meet people. Would love to utilize my day off to talk to some leaders. Let me know so I can plan accordingly. Good night. See you when I see you.
If I could turn back the clock and make sure the light defeated the dark, I'd spend every hour of every day.
You do need it? You need her info and route? I can give it to you. Well, I don't know. She said it's at the bottom. I don't know where it's at the bottom of what. I can look deeper into it. Because there's another page following her that might have it. She said it's at the bottom, but yeah, I don't see anything here. We'll look into it for you. And I can get a hold of you on Facebook now, right? It takes action, actual action. This is such a controversial topic, but a great one. It is, and do you know, I didn't realize it was so controversial. I thought it was just my oldest brother being like the white man, right? And that he was just opinionated and then that was it, right? But I've talked to some other people since then, and I've read some of the comments during some of my videos, and I see that people have all kinds of beliefs and think that it's their own fault. It's their own fault for one reason or another. And then therefore it becomes controversial because you've got people who like myself think that they are victims. And then there may be others that do not, right? There's others that paint them out to still be, the monsters or the wild beasts of the bunch, and that they're off doing horrific things, or that they would still be if it weren't for the government doing what they had done. And yeah, it does become very controversial. It really does. And it shocked me when it did. That last video made me sad earlier too. I'll be in Tulsa soon. So this was her 2 days ago. Turn that off before I get copyright on that. But just so you know what song was played to it. That's some dirty water, y'all. That is dirty water. Wow. I thought that my river looked dirty. That water looks... Maybe it's just because it's so dry too, right? It's so low because it's so dry. Good morning. Today, David Allen Crabtree will help me get to my next 20 miles. So can you all add him to your prayers today? He needs to be found ASAP also. Here's another Cherokee who went missing in 2000. Sorry to blow up your messenger. I think it's amazing. This is what someone said. I think it's amazing that you share these. And they put a link. And they said, too many of our Native people in the US and Canada are MMIP. And that was the one that she ended up taking for that day, which was 2 days ago. This was 3 days ago. She was remembering Christopher Teal, and his family. In her prayers, I encourage you to do the same, please. I'm sure that he is greatly missed, and they too would like justice and closure. And he is 34 years old, 6'2", 170 pounds. Tattoos. His left neck is Rainy. His left hand says Jesse. Right hand says Michaela. Both arms full sleeves. And left calf has a gargoyle. And this is out of Jay, Oklahoma. Missing since January 2nd, 2017. And this is the last one here. He was 13 when he went missing. 5'5", 125 pounds. Right? So, great. Fantastic what she does. Here was another one. Yeah. So, that's some of what it... Tulsa family there. Do you really? Oh, wow. Yeah, she just walked through there. From the video that we played, she was just in the area. She's not, I wouldn't imagine, too far out from it. No. Your storage is just outside of Jay. That's incredible. Wow. Wow. Okay, let me put you guys over here. Let me see what we have. This. All right. This is from July 30th of 2021. So this is 15 days after she went missing. Ella Mae went missing. Okay.
New at 6, a mystery on the Navajo Nation. What happened to Ella Mae Begay?
No incident for 2 months now. The search now spanning 3 states as police begin a homicide investigation.
ABC 15 investigator Sonu Wasu meets the family taking action to get answers.
It's been 33 days. My aunt has been missing, and we haven't gotten any positive answers from law enforcement or FBI.
Frustration over the lack of an answer, heartbreak, and worry over not knowing where the family matriarch and Navajo elder Ella Mae Begay is today.
And we're trying to get answers by asking the same questions over and over.
In an effort to push for answers, Seraphine Warren decided to start walking to draw attention to her missing aunt. But now, this one family's effort has turned into something much bigger.
I want to walk because I have to make a point. I'm walking for the missing Indigenous, the murdered. Every day, that's all I see. People going missing.
Now, every step taken out here on Native American land is dedicated to these 61 active missing persons cases in the Navajo Nation, many of them Indigenous women who simply just disappeared.
This could happen to anybody.
In a video news release, Navajo Police Captain Leonard Redhorse acknowledges the pain felt by Ella Mae Begay's family. Police say since day one, they have been interviewing witnesses, canvassing the area, and following every lead coming into their office. They ask the community for understanding and patience.
From the Navajo Police Department, we remain committed to transparency. We'll share information as it becomes available, and as long as it protects the potential criminal investigative conduct that's occurring out in the field.
The family has set up a fundraiser to help with expenses in the search for Ella Mae. Warren continues to remain hopeful her auntie is alive.
I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for support.
And she's looking to reward anyone who can help her find her loved one. Sonu Wasu, ABC 15, Arizona.
Okay, the next one's from September 21st.
Time closer to home, new developments in tonight as a Navajo family searches for answers to find their loved one.
Yeah, we first told you about the search for Ella Mae Begay back in July. Tonight, still no sign of her after she left her home in the Sweetwater community. Alison Rodriguez shows us how the woman's need is taking action to find her loved one.
Seraphine Warren has been leaving her home in Tooele, Utah, to head down to Arizona every weekend to search for her aunt, Ella Mae Begay. But 3 months later, the family still doesn't have any answers. Within these woven rugs, a scene.
The Monument Valley Monument.
With a story created by Ella Mae.
She was very talented as far as actually putting action into her rugs.
Textiles Seraphine now holds on to. It's all she has.
It's just getting harder to have any more hope that she's still alive.
Ella Mae disappeared from her home June 15th in the middle of the night in Sweetwater, Arizona. Seraphine says Navajo Nation police and the FBI have been investigating and searching. The only real info they've released?
Today our focus was in Thoreau, New Mexico, where we did make contact with our person of interest.
The family launching their own search following leads, including in Montezuma Creek in southeast Utah. Still nothing.
I just want to find her. We just need closure of some sort. And I'm trying to do whatever I can to get help.
Seraphine now plans to walk more than 150 miles in honor of her aunt's birthday next week to send a message.
And we can't just leave him out there. We have to find him.
She wants people to know Ella Mae and so many other Indigenous women who are missing, that they matter and that they deserve to be found.
I can't show her respect while she's laying out there when I know what talent she has and what she meant to us. I cannot not bring her home.
I'm Alison Rodriguez for ABC 15 Arizona.
And then this is November 27th.
Tonight in our Missing in Arizona report, we spotlight a case out of northeastern Arizona, Sweetwater to be exact. Loved ones of a missing Navajo woman continue to search for answers more than 5 months later.
62-year-old Ella Mae Begay was last seen at her home, and now investigators believe that she was a victim of a homicide. Fox 10's Justin Lum investigates.
For Seraphine Warren, she could rely on her aunt since she can remember. She's never forgotten Ella Mae Begay. The 62-year-old always kept to herself, especially when COVID-19 ravaged the Navajo Nation. Ella Mae stayed safe in her Sweetwater home, doing what she loved.
She's reserved, she's cautious, she's a master rug weaver.
Creating and designing her hand-woven rugs, illustrating the farmlands of her people, cow and sheep grazing with Monument Valley in the background. The phrase, "bless our home," weaved into most of the tapestries, words of protection. But Ella Mae was not protected during the early hours of June 15th, disappearing overnight. Seraphine lives in Utah and says she received calls from family members immediately.
She was cautious, she knew her surroundings, and at the time she went missing, they said was really out of character for her because it was 2:30 in the morning.
Out of character. The woman who rarely left home now vanished. Navajo police announced the disappearance and asked the public to look out for Ella Mae's silver 2005 Ford F-150. Days into the investigation, police provided an update on social media.
We have made a transition from a missing persons investigation into a foul play investigation.
Ella Mae's disappearance now classified as a homicide. At the same time, a person of interest identified just days into the search, Preston Toth, would be arrested on unrelated charges and held for questioning in connection to Ella Mae's case. Since then, he's been released and no other arrests have been made. Seraphine is left with unanswered questions.
We weren't getting any answers from law enforcement. They left us for a whole month and we were walking in circles. We were just searching areas that we assumed that she might be.
Despite Navajo PD and the FBI search efforts, Seraphine has consistently made the trip from Utah to Sweetwater to organize her own search for her aunt. She even met with Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez during her 150-mile walk to shine a light on the nationwide issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Her memory of Ella Mae's love keeps her going.
And we're doing everything we can to find my aunt.
Knowing that that's what she felt towards us, that motivates me to find her, to make sure she comes home.
Why would somebody do this to a family?
Fox 10 asked Navajo police to discuss the case, but a spokesperson has not responded on an official interview. As for a wide scope, the National Crime Information Center reports nearly 5,300 records were filed for missing Indigenous females in 2020, a large majority children or teenagers. But advocates for missing or murdered Indigenous women believe cases are vastly underreported due to jurisdictional complexities between federal, state, and tribal law enforcement agencies. Meantime, Seraphine continues to use her voice for her aunt, Ella Mae Begay.
And I know that she wants people that did this to her to be found and to be held accountable for what they did.
Justin Lum, Fox 10.
In April 2021, the Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior announced the launch of the Missing and Murdered Unit, known as MMU, within the Bureau of Indian Affairs Office of Justice Services. The goal is to use federal government resources to investigate these specific cases. Anyone with tips on Ella Mae's case should call the Navajo Police Department Shiprock District. Head to fox10phoenix.com for more information.
In every crime.
Okay, so this next one here, it's going to be, well, let me look, because I forgot. It's by Missing Persons Mysteries, and I put the link in the description. I'm also going to drop the link here in the comment section. They did an incredible job on this video. Holy moly. But I want to show you some of the footage that they have on it. But I recommend, if you're into the case, you got the time, even while you're cleaning, while you're cooking dinner, while you're doing something, just letting it play and listen to it, because holy moly, they did a fantastic job. It's really good.
All these women and these men deserve justice. We need to say their names, and we could be here all day saying names, and people need to care. And not just our people, all people, because we are all the same. They are us, we are them.
Yes, so
and
true.
Until people and the federal government starts putting money into reservations, putting money into all the social programs, this is going to continue to occur. And we have to hold our leaders accountable. Our leaders need to go forth to the federal government and demand services. And not just services when our people go missing, when any people on any reservation go missing. It's services that start for our children, that address drug abuse, that address alcoholism, poverty. This is just not something that has to do with people are intoxicated or they're addicts or they're homeless. Everybody deserves a voice.
Hello, friends.
So good. All right, now listen to some of here.
And no one cares. We just need someone to care. End quote. Currently, there are 63 active missing person cases just on the Navajo Nation reservation. We'll be talking about one of those cases today in just a few moments. In the last few years, there's been a movement across the United States, Canada, and literally throughout the world to bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous people. Rallies, walks, protests, and governmental meetings are being held, and communities are coming together for the cause. Still, it's not enough. An already marginalized community that face other community issues such as poverty, lack of housing, low-income jobs, alcohol and drug issues, and the remoteness of the reservation, with poverty being the worst of these challenges. The following is a synopsis of the movement and some statistics for the missing and murdered Indigenous.
When he starts giving numbers, it's like, yes, wow. I think he's already done a bunch of numbers too, to be honest with you, leading up to this part. He was giving a lot of factual information.
The MMIW, or Missing Murdered Indigenous Women movement, started in 2015 because of a need for awareness with all the missing and murdered First Nations women and girls. A red hand over the mouth has become the symbol for MMIW, representing the voices of those that will never be heard. It also represents the silence of law enforcement and media and the oppression and subjugation of First Nations women. The hope is that more people will take a stand against this epidemic and keep the stories alive for those that cannot tell their own. No more stolen sisters is their slogan. Search that hashtag online, you'll find a wealth of information. A crisis like this, in any other circumstance, would surely garner more attention from the media and an increase in police involvement. Sadly, this isn't the case. With the Indian Relocation Act, many First Nations people were displaced. Only 22% of Native Americans live on reservations or tribal lands. 71% live in urban areas. This makes it difficult to almost impossible to know what the actual numbers for missing and murdered Indigenous really are. The top 5 states with the most reported missing and murdered Indigenous are New Mexico with 78, Washington State with 71, Arizona with 54, Alaska with 52, and Montana with 41. And these are just the reported cases. In 2016, 5,712 cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls were reported, and sadly, only 116 were logged into the Department of Justice database. On reservations, when someone goes missing, there's usually support from the local community to search and to get information distributed. But when a First Nation member lives outside of a reservation, there's barely a mention in the local newspapers, and most times, not even the community news will run the stories. In a small experiment, we asked 100 people in the Navajo Nation community about the case we're going to be covering today, the Mae Begay missing case, to see if they had heard of it. Out of those 100 people, which consisted of 50 men and 50 women, with 25 of the women being Native, 25 Caucasian, same with the men, 25 Native men, 25 Caucasian men, only 27 out of the 100 had heard of the case. Out of those 27, 11 were Native women, 7 were Native men, 6 were Caucasian women, and 3 were white men. All
3 of them were white men. Like, do you hear the numbers on these things? Like, it's crazy. It's insane. Out of 100, only 27 had heard about her case, and it's the Navajo community itself. Right? Wow.
27 had seen a missing persons flyer at a convenience store. Other statistics show that the average age of a missing murdered Indigenous female is 29, with the youngest known victim being a baby that was less than a year old, and the oldest victim was an 83-year-old female. Native American women make up only 2% of the American population, yet they make up 21% of the reported domestic violence cases, 25% of missing cases,
Wow.
56% of murdered cases, and 19% of cases where the status is unknown.
What did I say? 56? Over 50% of murdered cases belong to the Indigenous people, women, and they only make up 2% of the population. What is the matter with that number? It doesn't make sense. It's insane. There is a huge problem, humongous. That is why it's been labeled a crisis, and yet no one takes it seriously. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about it. Unless it affects them, they don't got time for it. It's so bad, man. Oh my gosh. It's devastating. I can't even handle it. I can't. It makes me so upset. The numbers are just insane. And I can't believe the numbers alone don't blow people away. You simply take away the fact that you're not even thinking of them as individual people, as a real human being, as, say, your family. How many of your family members would it take to equal these numbers, right? So just thinking about the percentage, and that it's 2 in 3 women are of Indigenous women are affected with SA in their lifetime. 2 in 3. Okay, so name 3 of the women in your family. I don't care which ones, 3 of them, and 2 of them have been sexually assaulted. I don't care about the SA part. I really don't. So sexually assaulted, and likely multiple times is the other thing that occurs there. They're not a one-time. It tends to be multiple, and then the domestic violence numbers for them is outrageous, and murder is astronomical. Missing is insane. It really blows me right away. It's insane to me.
Indigenous women are 10 times more likely to be murdered than the average American. With all these statistics, issues that the First Nations people face, the lack of urban and tribal community support, alcohol and drug issues, poverty, lack of funding for police, extended response time for police, underreporting of crimes such as domestic violence, abuse, and violent crime, it seems these statistics will continue to remain high. However, it is imperative to keep the momentum of bringing awareness to this issue, and we here are dedicated to that. The Urban Indian Health Institute released the following statement when addressing the collection of data. Quoting here, as demonstrated by the findings of this study, reasons for the lack of quality data include underreporting, racial misclassification, poor relationships between law enforcement and the Native American and Alaskan Native communities, poor record-keeping protocols, institutional racism in the media, and a lack of substantive relationships between journalists and Indigenous peoples, end quote. The violence against Native women and girls has gotten so bad that it's now considered an epidemic and a public health crisis.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the case of Mae Begay.
It's a lot. So I'm going to drop the link now. This here is the link to that YouTube video. And like I said, there was still more that he talked about of factual information in the beginning portion that we didn't even click, we didn't even listen to. And then, and then I got a cough. Hold on one moment. Sorry about that. Okay, but yeah, and so he still gives more information in the beginning, and I'm going to play this little bit here too.
Sharing Mae's story.
My name is Seraphine Warren. I am the niece of Mae Begay. She's been missing since June 15th, 2021 from Sweetwater, Arizona. It's a small community of Sweetwater. The population is probably like maybe less than 1,000 maybe. So the housing near her area is pretty sporadic. So it's hard for somebody in her community, you're tight knit, it's really close, and the closest relative that lives is 40 yards away. And so I know that somebody knows what happened to her. And like I was just speaking about this event, a lot of stuff that
I'm dealing with. I'm getting to know myself and things that I wasn't aware of that really starts to irk my nerves sometimes, and I feel like I need to say something, because the more I keep it in, it just gets me really upset, because I've held in the message I want to tell the people for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think it was in the planning, and it's kind of like writing a text to somebody and re-erasing it and trying to retell it again, but in ways that somebody could understand me. So it comes out as frustration and anger, because for me, that's all I know so far. I mean, I haven't seen any results, and like I said, I work hard for a lot of things that I do, and I would have seen results now, and I don't have it, and it hurts, and it's tormenting me really bad. Everybody could come up to me and just say, "You're doing really good. You'll find her, but where is she?" And it's like, could I crawl to the top of the mountain and just yell for, will that work? Will I be closer to God, or will I be closer to our angels just to tell us where she's at? And like I just said, Joe, I don't even eat. I don't remember what my last meal was. I don't like all of those. I don't even pay attention to, because I'm more excited to just hear somebody call me or tell me, "Hey, we found your aunt." Just yesterday, I got a call. They said she got off the red apple bus. I felt like just coming down, driving, just stopping and just yelling with happiness. But I had to confirm that it was true, but I never got a call back, regardless of all the places I tried to call. I just thought, like, everything I see in Eagle, the things that are sacred to us, those are the things I'm trying to grab at, just to connect with her.
We hear you're going to Washington to try to make a difference, and that is very noble of you. And God, you're taking on such a humongous task, because you're speaking not only for your people, the Navajo people, but you're speaking for all the tribes all around the world. And that is huge and very appreciated. And you're right, the Gabby Petito case, they traveled all the way across the United States for her, but they won't even travel across a county for any of these people. What does that say? You know?
Yeah, no doubt. She has done a lot. And she's only one person. And she's taking it on for all Indigenous people. And yeah, what does it take? Does it take somebody from every tribe? I don't know. Who knows? Right, but best we can do is keep on spreading and keep on supporting those that are actually making efforts like this. But anyways, yep, that's that. I tried not to, but it got me. Oops. I don't know what I just clicked on. Huh. But yeah, so with Ella Mae's case, they did end up arresting that guy, and they on unrelated charges. And I heard that I actually wanted to look him up again. I forgot his name. I'll update you guys on it. I had heard that he got arrested again for another crime, or another possible homicide. He seems to be a pretty bad dude. But they haven't officially got anybody for hers. She's considered what they believe to be a homicide, Ella Mae is, but they haven't arrested anybody. And I don't know what's even going on with it. I'm not sure what they're doing, if it's at a complete standstill. We don't really know. They don't really know. So it's pretty unfortunate. But I got you too. Yeah. Oh man, it got me. Yeah, it got me. I'm gonna play this one for you guys. This is pure happiness. So let's try to spend the rest of the night being happy like this little one and not be sad over what was just covered. Don't forget what we just covered, right? Don't forget it. Don't ignore it. But be happy like this little guy. He's cute. I remember running around in the rain when I was little, actually. It would be so exciting. It would start raining, and we would be so excited to just run out there when it was this heavy rain like this. It felt super good. And if there was no thunder or lightning, my mom would let us get into the pool, and that was the best. That was so awesome to us. Being in the swimming pool while it was like downpouring was the coolest thing. We loved it. We absolutely loved it. So, yeah, a little bit of my childhood. Reminds me a little bit of it. But I hope that you all have a really good night. Thank you so much for listening. Bounty was paid for every Redskin. Absolutely disgusting. The same sport enthusiast fight to keep the name. I know it. It's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah, and then they couldn't keep the name, and so they ended up went to the football team, Washington football, whatever. And I was like, you don't even got a name? I mean, and you know, it's, yes, but it's true. It's true. And I mean, why hold on to it? What a terrible name, right? And some people are like, oh, they're so quick to be offended. Well, you know, when you actually really know what that really means, it's slang. It's a slang term. It's racist. It's the same as it should be treated. It should be, but it's not treated equivalent to using the N-word. You wouldn't put that as your what's representing your team. So why do you have to put, you know, Redskin? So yeah. That's again, and then that gets into a controversial, or it can get into a controversial conversation, right? But yes, it's slang for it, and it also, I don't know if you all saw what I put in there. It refers to the government's sanctioned practice of scalping natives, oftentimes while they were alive, and so. And then more, right? There's more to it. It doesn't just that. There's more explanation to it, but you kind of get the gist. It's not good. It's not good. But I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Nice seeing all of you. Nice getting to know some of you. Nice seeing some of you again. I might come back. I have other case information. I may come back later tonight, but if not, I hope you all have an awesome night or day, depending where you are. Thank you for being here, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.